This week marks the 5th anniversary of Israel's disengagement from Gaza. And Israel tried to make a lesson that this is our sacrifice, our steps towards peace with the Palestinians. How well do you think the media is remembering that message today?
The media, in general, and particularly when it comes to Israel, has no mandate, not over justice, and not over the truth, and not over history. The media wants to tell stories now and here. And when the story broke out 5 years ago, that's a major story, and they covered it. But they have no collective memory. And, the thing is that every now and then, these things that Israel has done, the sacrifice, and this is not the only sacrifice. I mean, time and again, like Sisyphus, we roll the stone up the mountain, it rolls back on us, but we keep going at that because it's part of who we are. I mean, peace is ingrained in our blood. Peace is imprinted on our DNA code. Because that's what the Jewish people pray, 3 times a day. The number of times that you say the word peace and pray for peace, is almost equal to the number of times that the word God or Israel is mentioned. And I think that's what the world should understand. And when we made that very difficult, excruciating, painful disengagement, we did it because we had some notion that maybe this would be a step in the direction of peace. And today, people don't remember. What people remember is the last picture they've seen from Gaza and the kind of general view of Israel as a very aggressive state, of the Israelis as a very aggressive state, and the media continues to display this impatience with all our arguments and everything. Okay, so what are you going to do about it? And I always ask, okay, the two sides to this conflict, it's us and the Palestinians, it's us and the Arabs. For God's sake, what have the Arabs done for peace for themselves in the last few years, or let's say in 62 years of Israel's existence? And the answer is none.
Feel that the media is coming with a prejudice in reporting on this situation, even at the 5th anniversary of the disengagement?
Well, I think it's more the nature of the beast, the nature of the media. I wouldn't generalize and say that the whole media is anti-Israel or anti-Zionist, but generally they're impatient with long explanation, with historical explanation. They want the story, and they want the narrative. Now today, no doubt that the predominant narrative in the Middle East is the Palestinian narrative, whereas the Israeli narrative, partly because of our fault and partly because of the nature of the media, has been lost. It's not the narrative of Exodus, when you see Paul Newman come there and he's the real hero. It's a different time. It's a different situation. Now the narrative of the so-called Paul Newman of Exodus, that we see is the flotilla that comes from Turkey. The media is totally ahistorical. I mean, they don't have an historical perspective. And you have to understand, the regular channels that broadcast news 24/7 are not the History Channel. The History Channel is one channel where they show you the history. And they go into details and tell the whole story. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I would say, we have a 3,000-year-old history which you can't cram into 30 minutes of a program or 3 minutes of a program. The best you get is 30 to 90 seconds to state your case. So I don't blame just the media. I blame the fact that, I say fortunately, we're a nation that has continuous, uninterrupted history of 4,000 years, or at least 3,007 since the establishment of Jerusalem as the capital of the Jewish people. But you can't put it into those words. You got to find a way to give the narrative, the Israeli narrative, the story in a very short and concise way. Well, I think it was an effort that was interrupted in its midst. Sharon had a view of trying to keep the best and leave the rest. In other words, in order to preserve Judea and Samaria, or particularly those settlement blocks which are very important for secure borders for Israel. And that's the main issue. It says in Resolution 242, Israel has the right to live within secure and recognized borders. They won't be recognized if they won't be secure. And Gaza was not the kind of border or a place where we needed it for a strategic security reason. Oh, emotional, yes, and the people living there, and the government brought them. The government should have compensated them and took care of them. I'm not so sure that the government did such a good job in really compensating and putting them in the right. But nevertheless, I mean, the decision to leave Gaza was embedded in the realization that Israel must seize the initiative. have its own program of bringing peace in the Middle East, not wait for someone to impose the program on him and put it in an untenable position that will endanger Israel's security. That was the view Sharon had. Regrettably, he wasn't able to finish the job. The following. As far as the long-term investment, it wasn't a good deal, okay? If you have a long-term investment, you invest in withdrawing or disengaging, then the long-term fruits are not going to see, because it didn't work out. Hamas took over Gaza and it was stopped. Short-term, there were very good returns. Israel could go to two major campaigns with international support. The 2006 war in Lebanon, the fact that we didn't do the job as we expected ourselves to do, that's a different story. And the Operation Cast Lead, the one that we went into Gaza and put Hamas in a position where today it is not able to develop and to take control of Gaza and to fire missiles, and we restored our deterrence. So that in itself is something that we were able to do. But the credit was spent. And now, people are waiting. They forgot about that. That was 5 years ago. Today is today. What are you going to do today about the Palestinian? What are you going to do today about so-called humanitarian crisis? And there's no humanitarian crisis in Gaza. But the world has this impatience with Israel today. And therefore, Israel must do something. It has to have, again, a political program, a political initiative of the Israeli government. In order for that political initiative to be taken seriously, there probably needs to be some changes in the government. The government must be a broad-based government, reflecting the support of all the people. And then it would be much easier for the Prime Minister, whoever it may be, if it's Benjamin Netanyahu, to come to Washington and say, up to here, yes, from here, no. There are certain issues which we can't give up because they have to do with Israel's security, and other issues we're ready to negotiate. I think that the important thing I would say that both for the media and for the Arabs is to take Israel seriously. And for that, Israel must come with its own plan, set its own borders, not leave some room for negotiations. But you see what the Palestinians are doing. They say, well, we'll go for direct talks only if you go back to the 67 borders and only if you recognize the rights of the Palestinian and you allow some Palestinians to return back with some border modification. I mean, they already they pre-declared the outcome of the negotiation before the negotiations start. That's coercive diplomacy. That's not negotiations.